might not see the outcomes, we might see the clues, but when you plant a seed, it's gotta grow before it blooms. Oh.
Aloha, Sustainable Farmer Drew, Garden to Garden, Sacred Herbs and Botanicals, chilling over here by this tree, nice tree stump area. Anyhow, I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet. Who knows how long it'll go on for, but I had this thought. Been discussing lately about forest and trees and this and that, and you know, a lot of people do understand that yes, we need more trees in the world, we need to be planting, we need to move towards sustainability, and there are people doing that, and I applaud them. I think it's great. There's a lot of great work going on around the world, but what we may not see or comprehend on a larger scale is that eventually all of these resources that we depend on are gonna ultimately dwindle or become unavailable or not be at the capacity we currently use them at, or available at that capacity, and the demand will not meet the supply. And primarily I'm talking about natural resources, and that includes from fuel to timber to anything that we depend on for natural resources. You can look up a list or think of a list in your head. When it comes to forest though and trees, we have reduced the amount of trees in the world since the Industrial Revolution and since the rise of humanity, since we started using fire and understanding that not understanding, but our progression as we became bipedal and started moving around the globe and dominating every section of the planet. So there's 3.4 trillion trees in the world. That's more trees than there are stars in our whole galaxy. And that's a lot of trees. There's some billion stars, I don't remember how many, but there's more trees. However, that amount of trees is not enough, because if you think about it, humans usually build settlements around forests and around resources, and we've always done that. The problem is in less developed countries is that they use almost 90% of their use of fuel, of timber, of wood products and forest products is for fuel, and they don't have very much left over for other uses like timber and paper and pulp and making other resources out of that. So it's a one-time thing, and it's burned up quickly, and it's not very sustainable. But that provides most of the heating in the world for cooking and staying warm and this and that, and it's very important. One of the things is that we can always reforest a forest. That's the cool thing about it. How we do that is, you know, at the point where we need to really think sustainably and, you know, have some kind of plan in mind, especially when it comes to this aspect. You know, there's a lot of different components, you know, to closed loop systems and building robust, resilient communities and systems around your center of living. And I think we'll get there, but to kind of shift the paradigm that we're in now, we need to really think of sustainability. And more developed countries and emerging countries, you have forest resources where there's excess, which is used for paper and pulp and timber products, and also for fruit trees, which, you know, they're not considered, a food forest is not considered a forest system by FAO or other recognized governmental bodies, but let's just say it's a forest. To me, it's a forest. Because when you think of food forests and permaculture design and any other design or agroforestry systems that incorporate food and other uses, like that's technically what agroforestry is, um, by design it's fulfilling all the needs of human needs and ecological niches and roles, which is important. So I think that we need to kind of look at the current situation we're in now and understand that in time we will not be able to meet the demand based on what's available as our natural resource. So we need to build these resilient systems and teach people how to learn how to do that themselves as well and maintain it. So if we can extend our knowledge, those who have it, to larger communities and teach them how to build robust models that can be a closed loop system within their vicinity and localize what they're doing, their production and their demand, and understand that through this education that you can't just go and exploit everything you want, whether it's non-timber forest products or whatever, and you want to make money in the economy. And we have to kind of shift away from the idea of the dollar and shift towards more of the idea of life. As I think sometimes and often we kind of put the dollar before life, and reverting back to what is innately deep within us and within what makes up this whole universe, I think is important. That's another discussion though. Now in the places, as I was saying, that have more abundant resources, and not to demean any other country or place, that's just how it is. In these places, we need to shift away from using the timber and reliance on forest products, and I think grow things that are that have a quicker harvest time, such as making hay, for example, and building and how we build our houses. They should not be allowed to be built until the LEED certification and all this green building is great, and I think that's a good shift in the way we need to go, and that should be the standard to start with. I think all houses should be required to be built that way. And the more you do, the better. Tiny houses, this, that, but earthships, that and that. But I think we can shift towards stuff like that, earthships, and understanding we don't need a huge mansion for 2 people, 1 person, or even a family. We don't need suburbans. We don't need this stuff. It's just one is probably our ego and our desire to fulfill some void that we're unaware of. It's subliminal things and like unnecessary things that just take up space and wasteful. It's just wasteful, bottom line. Anyhow, we need to shift that, and I think one of the solutions is how we use our natural resources. So if we can grow something like hemp or alfalfa and get straw bales and use the mud and other resources to build houses that like adobe architecture or straw bale housing or earthships and things that reuse resources and use resources that can be quickly turned around and not have to take down a tree or something that will take much longer to grow. You can grow that stuff, a field of like say hay or whatever kind of hay you want to grow, and use that many times over versus 5 to 6 years for a tree plantation, and even longer in places we're going into Siberia, wanting to go into Siberia now, and remote places of the world, which is not sustainable because they need to spend the resources to get there, and go harvest those forests, which those trees, because they're in such cold and severe climates, take probably 150 years to regenerate. That's not cool. So I think we could think about new ways of building our human settlements, and around those settlements creating resilient designs, resilient systems, and using, polyculture, multifunctional species that can provide many uses. And on the other turn, when we do things like making a shift towards building houses in a new way, such as straw bale housing or whatever it might be, we need to understand the land and the soil and how we go about doing that as well. It's not just plant, use fertilizer and keep planting and keep growing. No, we gotta watch after that and allow things to regenerate as well. So it's a global shift, really, and each one of us is responsible for this, whether we're young, old, or in the middle. We all play a part in the global dynamics and structure and continuum of this thing we call life, of the anthropogenic world, and our ideas and worldview of how we proceed and what we have done to get to where we are. It's not all bad, but it plays a role in where we're at now, for sure. It has, and at the moment it's not looking good. I don't care who tells you differently. We got to keep politics out of this. We got to keep our ego and our ideas that are on the pessimistic side away, and allow that to kind of dissipate into nothingness, really, and allow the things that can fruit and blossom and become better for the world to rise. And in doing so, through these sustainable models and ideas and systems that are out there and continuing to be developed, the world can change. But we really need to get on the ball with it. Otherwise, we're heading for unfortunate and serious times, really, as that guy Egyptian said one time. But there's truth to that, definitely. So anyway, that's all I got to say for now. I just wanted to get that thought out of my head. I hope you heard me. I appreciate your comments, concerns. You can add to it what you think, whatever. It's always nice to hear other people who are either doing this or interested or find it amusing or whatever. It's all good, you know what I mean? But so I gotta get back to tending the native garden over here. And until next time, Sustainable Farmer Drew. Peace, love, aloha, mahalo. Thank you.
We might not see the outcomes, we might see the clues, but when you plant a seed, it's gotta grow before it blooms.